Are you recording? Oh,
I'll read what the timeline is going to be,
It's weird sitting here.
how we're going to do this. Okay.
and is there anyone coming in or is that it, Megan?
There's several.
Oh, it just takes a minute.
We don't see it.
Oh,
We used to see the number over in the corner.
Open that.
oh, yeah, it's right here. Okay, sorry. Don't listen to me.
Are we all set? Okay. I'd like to call to order the select board special meeting, January 5th at 6 PM. We need to call to order approval of agenda, forensic audit, public comment, executive session, personnel adjourn. Can I entertain a motion?
Well, before we approve the agenda, I'd like to give what the timeline of the agenda is going to be.
Okay,
All right, what I think it should be, and we can agree or disagree, but I think we're gonna hear from Josh Bills from the Bonadeo Group first. After Josh is done, we're gonna open, I'm gonna give a presentation from this select board.
yep.
No, I think Ellen's statement will go first. Ellen has a statement to be read that will be first.
Okay, that's right. Ellen's statement will be first from, a statement from Ellen will be read first, then a presentation from the select board. Then I believe we're gonna give a presentation from select board members,
Yep.
if they so choose. And then we will open it up to public comment. And my question to the board is, on public comment tonight, are we gonna limit it to 3 minutes, or are we gonna, we're not gonna make it a question and answer session. It's gonna be public comment only.
Correct.
Are we gonna leave it at 3 minutes, or are we gonna let them go longer if we so choose?
Since this is so important, I don't have a problem with going to like 5 minutes a person.
I don't either. I just want to make that clear before we even get started.
I think you should be clear also about that, what Josh is going to be here for.
Right.
Right, and I thought we'd do that before we.
Great. Okay.
I just wanted to get the agenda order so that people understand what we're doing.
Okay.
That's it.
And does everybody agree with that? Bob?
I'm
Okay.
fine. Yep.
Right. So,
Make a motion to approve the agenda as read.
okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Jamie?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Angie, aye. Okay, and before we start, I just want to clarify that we had a question about Cat TV. So I just want to quickly talk about Cat TV coverage of special meetings since there was a question about it. We only have a contract for coverage of live TV for our regular meetings. If we have a special meeting, Cat TV does not broadcast these on live television. They record the special meeting, then post it on their YouTube channel so people can watch it. We pay a fee for extra services. However, we also record all our own meetings and post them on social media, including our YouTube channel, Facebook, and our website archives. Tonight, we are live streaming on the Town of Pownal Facebook page, and we can talk about doing this ongoing. We put this on the agenda for next regular meeting to discuss, and we will make another push to make sure people know where they can watch the recording meetings. We will also send a copy of this recording to Cat TV. Okay? Thank you. Okay. So Josh,
No, let me,
sorry.
yep. So let me do this, open this forensic audit. We have Joshua Bills from the Bonadeo Group here with us tonight. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. It's good to be
Our
here.
town council engaged his services to perform a supplemental forensic audit of just one issue. It is this issue that has caused the delay of the release of the forensic audit. He will present on the work they did and their findings. He is then willing to answer any questions from the select board before he leaves the meeting. At that point, Ellen has sent us a written statement that she would like read into the record. Then I have another statement to read on behalf of the select board. After that, we will take public comment. If anyone has a question that they want to ask Josh from Bonadeo and the select board cannot answer it, we will reach out directly to get to them to get an answer. After this meeting, all iterations of the forensic audit report from Graham and Graham and the supplemental forensic audit report from Bonadeo will be made public on the website. Take it away, Josh.
Okay.
Again, my name is Josh Bills. I'm a manager and a certified fraud examiner with the Bonadillo Group. And we were retained by the town attorney to review the reasonableness of VEMR's contributions made for the town treasurer position during the period of 2017 through 2020. So we performed this analysis in 2 stages. We reviewed VEMR's and state policy regarding contribution requirements. That was the first step, making sure that we understand exactly what the requirements are per VEMR's and the state, and then also your local town policy. And then once we had, the town's policy and the state policy in place and understood and found to be in compliance with VEMR statutes and the state of Vermont statutes, we recalculated contributions made to the treasurer's VEMR's account for the period under review. Again, that's 2017 through 2020. So taking that first item there, review of the VEMR's participation requirements and policies, our first question was, okay, in the eyes of state of Vermont and VEMR statutes, is including contributions related to a commissions-based position, the delinquent tax positions, by those positions worked by the treasurer, is that reasonable? Is that allowed per VEMR's and per state statute? Short answer is yes. In our conversations with a VEMR's representative and review of state statute, per both sources, that is allowed. We gave supporting evidence for this at Appendix 1. If you look at that statute 5051 there, you can see the requirements listed for an employee to be contributed to VEMR's as being, or considered an employee. That is, I believe, 1,040 hours per year being worked in the municipality, or 24 hours per week. The treasurer's position alone qualifies her at that level, at the employee level. And then the delinquent tax position, though it's commissions based, is considered to be just added on top of that. So the state definition of an employee, the 1,040 hours, does not specifically state that it needs to be from one position held by the employee in the town. Additionally, we found that VEMR's, in our conversations with them, they don't require for submission of supporting documents showing the specific hours worked each week, time cards or something in that level, showing, posted hours or showing specific hours related to the hours worked each week. It is okay for the town and for VEMR's to rely on posted hours that are supposed to be worked by the treasurer, whoever's position is being contributed to VEMR's each week. And they also stated in our conversations, I said, okay, does this make sense? Is it okay? I know it's allowed per state statute and per VEMR's, but is that a normal thing? Is it something that you see often in Vermont? And the short answer was yes, because in small towns, it's not expected that everyone is punching out and punching in all their hours all the time. It may be done, but it's not a requirement for the position. And with a small town with few employees, that's often what they see. Now, additionally, we note that pay for the treasurer position is established by the board, and that, it's a set amount each year, and pay for the delinquent tax position is set by state statute. So if you turn to Appendix 4, you can see that there. I'm actually going to look at it myself here. So that's the title Delinquent Tax Commission and Collection Costs. If you look at Section 3 there, it's highlighted. 3A, the percent of the amount of the tax collected that shall be charged to the commission, provided that the adopted percent does not exceed 8%. So it's basically saying in that whole section there, okay, 8% of your delinquent tax position, that is considered a commission for that person performing duty as a delinquent tax collector. So that is also set. It's a policy. It's set by state statute. It's not based, the pay is not based on hours worked. So with that established, we considered through our conversation with VEMR's and review of state statute, we considered that this is, was that a question? No?
No,
Oh, okay. We considered that per state and VEMR's regulations, the position of the town was acceptable. Okay, so now we said our second question in this area is, does town policy allow for contribution of wages from positions that do not in themselves amount to 1,040 hours each year? Short answer is yes. The town's policy has allowed for the entirety of the employees' wages to be part of participation in VEMR's since the town first started participation in VEMR's in 1975. The one exception to that was a 3-month-long period from November 2019 to about January 2020. So in that time frame, the town policy, the personnel policy specifically, was modified to state that only positions that meet the 1,040-hour requirement in themselves, not added on with other areas of work within the town, in themselves would be allowed for VEMR's contribution. So that would take the delinquent tax position out of play. This change was revisited in February 2020. The change that was made in the fall was considered appropriate and reverted to the town historical policy of allowing VEMR's contributions for all positions. And this is shown in Appendix 2. Now, this was further reinforced on 3/25/21 by the town board with an addendum to the personnel policy that specifically notes combining of positions, combining of the treasurer position pay with the tax delinquent position or any other position that a town employee might have is allowed. It specifically spells it out, so there's no type of legal issue there going forward, and that is shown in Appendix 3. And this was recommended by the VEMR's representative just because of the issues that were occurring here, the misunderstanding of what the town policy was. So it was recommended that it be specifically spelled out in the town personnel policy. So considering those two areas, our conversations with the state and then also review of state statutes and review of the town policy itself during the period under review, we found that the treasurer, the contributions made on behalf of the treasurer to VEMR's over this period was reasonable and within the policy of the state and VEMR's itself. Our second part of this was to then recalculate the amounts of the treasurer's contribution to VEMR's during this period. So we initially said, okay, they're within the policies that are allowed by the state and by the town, but were the contributions made correct? Was it accurately done? And we took 4 steps to consider that. We compared the NIMRIC weekly wage reports for years 2017 through 2020. So all the weekly wages that were obtained through the treasurer position with the yearly stated salary for that position. So there's a budgeted amount each year that's agreed upon by the board. And we compared that to the wages per NIMRIC. And we found no exceptions with that testing. Secondly, what we did, we recalculated quarterly contributions to the VEMR's account using NIMRIC salary reports for the years 2017 through 2020. These contributions are made at a rate of 2.5% of gross pay at the employee level, and then a 4% pay at the town level. And that is shown, support for that is shown at Appendix 5. And that is basically part of the VEMR's retirement plan statement saying that, okay, yes, this is done against gross pay. This 2.5% rate is on gross pay that the employee makes, and the town contributes 4%. And we found that to have no exceptions, that recalculation. Our third step was comparing the NIMRIC reported salary to what's shown on the treasurer's W-2, and we found no exceptions with that testing. So lastly, I already mentioned this basically, we noted that the VEMR's contributions were correctly made on gross pay. Okay, so gross pay, the gross pay amount that the treasurer receives each year is used for the calculation of the 2.5% and the 4% calculation of contributions to VEMR's. And that was done correctly without exception. So in conclusion, these tests gave us comfort that the VEMR's contributions were made accurately during the period of our review, 2017 through 2020. And that in combination with what is shown in state statute and also through our review of VEMR's policy with VEMR's representatives themselves, we concluded that it was done correctly. The contributions were made correctly for the treasurer during this period. And I'll state that in conclusion, town and VEMR's personnel were very cooperative during this engagement. I also included Appendix 6 here to show that the town had already performed a recalculation themselves. And we found that very reasonable. The recalculation that was performed by the town used similar steps that we would use in our audit engagement practices, okay? And similar to what we did for the recalculation levels here. So I just thought they did a really good job with that. And now, if you have any questions, I'll open it up for that.
I just have a couple questions. Now, I just want to make sure that I understood you correctly. You said that the treasurer meets the 1,040 hours a year plus the 24 hours a week. Even when they changed the policy for that 3 months, she was in compliance, correct?
So she was in compliance for her treasurer position during that 3-month period.
Yes.
For the tax delinquent position, technically, per that policy that was in place for that 3-month period, it would not be, but it's really up to the town how they want to take that period, because I don't believe that the treasurer's tax delinquent amounts contributed to VEMR's during that period were then clawed back in any way. I think it was basically decided, my understanding, which is limited in terms of what happened during this period, was that they accepted that both the treasurer and the tax delinquent contribution amounts would remain intact during that 3-month period. The old policy was reverted to again and clarified further. And basically that it was accepted.
I just wanted to clarify that she was definitely in compliance, even with the change for that. And then when you do regular audits and perform them, do you normally check to see about what people contribute to their VEMR's or 401k or anything like that? When you normally do an audit for a municipality?
Yeah, it depends on what type of audit is being performed.
It's a common practice, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question about common practice. Actually, I just want him to reiterate it because it's in the report, and I think it's important to say publicly at this meeting that you discovered and wrote in this report that it is the default position of the state to allow the combination of positions. When there is one that's, quote, unqualified, if they hold a qualified position, the state default is always to combine those positions unless we explicitly say otherwise, and that most towns in Vermont allow the combination of positions. That is standard practice across the state.
That is what it was stated to us by the VEMR's representative. That's correct.
Yes. That's actually in like the first couple paragraphs of the report. And then my last question is, did you observe any other areas of concerns from the town's control of the environment that we control?
No, I don't. But then, I mean, also my procedures were very limited to what you see here. So it was limited scope. It was a review of these specific hours and contributions made. So, a further analysis, I can't comment on that, but.
All right, thank you.
But again, part of the reason of me including Appendix 6 and the work that was done by the town there was to show that the review that was performed by the town to ensure that the contributions were correct followed very similar to audit guidelines that we would use at our firm. So I wanted to include that to show that I think you guys did a good job with it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tim actually did it. Thank you very much, Tim.
Yep. I like to speak in generalities, but yes, it was Tim.
Yes.
It wasn't me.
I'm sure you could help. All right, so does anybody else have any questions? Bob?
Bob, get on mute.
Got to unmute, Bob.
Sorry about that. I was
There
trying
you
to cut
go.
down on my background noise. The only question that I can think of is I was curious about the W-2. I think something was made about W-2 numbers not matching, and I don't believe they need to. I don't believe they ever would for VEMR's reports. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, they shouldn't match for VEMR's because the W-2 is going to be net after VEMR's. There's a section of the report that discusses that. So the gross pay that the treasurer receives, she is then going to take a portion of that and contribute it to her 2.5% that's going to VEMR's, and also a certain percent, I think, also that goes to her health account. And that is shown in Appendix 3 or 4 there, those amounts.
Right. Well, they.
So and that's made on gross. So the net amount that's shown on the W-2 that's taxable would be a different amount than her gross pay.
Okay, that does answer my question, and I think that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Jamie, do you have any question?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, so.
Mike?
No,
We're good.
the only two questions I had were, where I wanted to clarify, that during that time period from 2017 or the 3-month time frame, Ellen,
From November
she
2019.
qualified,
January
that's right,
20th.
she did qualify under the treasurer's
Yes.
position and the W-2 that Bob touched on. So those are the only two sticking points that I had questions on. So no, I think everything else in there is pretty self-explanatory and solidifies everything that we've said all along.
Glad to hear it.
Thank you for your work. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you, everyone. And again, if there's any subsequent discussion or questions, we can field those, but I do appreciate the opportunity to work with the town. And again, everyone was very cooperative and helpful through the whole process. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye. Have a good night. Okay. I would just like to,
Well, do you want me to?
oh, yes, go ahead,
Okay.
Ellen.
So I was asked to read a statement from Ellen. She's unable to be here tonight. Well, it doesn't matter where she is. She was unable to be here tonight. And she also really wanted someone to read this for her because she was afraid she would not make it through. It is kind of lengthy. And it's like she has 10 points that she put in her statement that she wants me to read. So I'll just go for it. So even though I am relieved to finally have some closure to this matter regarding my participation in VEMR's, it has now been over 2 years of anxiety and stress for me. You can't know what it is like to be under the shadow of false accusations for so long until it has happened to you. I thank you for the opportunity to make a statement about what this experience has been like and how it has affected me. I also want to offer to the public my side of things, as I've had to remain silent while this was being investigated. I am disappointed in the select board of that time for not asking more questions of the persons making accusations against me. The words of new internal auditors were taken without even asking me any questions or asking for explanations. They had been asking me to train them, and I had to say no because you cannot train someone who will then audit your work. I believe my refusal to teach them how to read the reports and how to navigate our accounting system put us off on a bad footing, and they saw it as a refusal to work with them. I was always willing to answer a question regarding a specific item they were questioning and did so when approached, but it is a conflict of interest to explain anything else to people who will then be auditing your work. 2, even Mr. Graham stated that when he came to speak to the board, that town and municipal auditing and accounting is very different from being a CPA, bookkeeper, or auditor for a private business. And yet the word of people who had no municipal accounting experience was taken without even a conversation with me to help resolve and correct their misunderstandings and incorrect findings. This put us into an incredibly expensive forensic audit, spending tens of thousands of dollars unnecessarily and without even an accurate outcome after spending all that money. 3, Word in Pownal travels fast, and these accusations of me have spread like wildfire. In particular, one former official, a former select board member, has broadcasted these allegations on public social media platforms using the words misappropriation of funds. Other former officials spread these false allegations by word of mouth, speaking about me to anyone who would listen. If my other present employers had believed these allegations, the repercussions for me could have been even worse. 4. The embarrassment and humiliation this has brought to me is irrevocable. There are likely still people who believe I have misappropriated funds when nothing could be further from the truth. This has affected my personal life, my work life, social life, and my health. The stress of knowing you have not done anything wrong while being accused falsely and the turmoil of deciding when and how to stand up for yourself is something I hope all involved will never have to deal with themselves. 5, if the persons involved in the original accusations against me had known where to look and how to calculate the 941s and the VEMR's reporting system, they would have seen there wasn't an issue. The forensic auditor never reviewed any of this information, never asked me any questions, never asked me for any of my calculations and info to be given to him. He also seemed to just take the word of the internal auditors and one select board member. So my question is, how was he able to give a report about my participation in VEMR's without actually researching this information? Yes, it was said in part of the report that there was, quote, no fraud, but then the forensic auditor went on to give findings that speak of potentially illegal actions. He gave findings on things he never spoke to me about, never asked for documentation on, and the findings were wrong. He offered no evidence of these findings, nothing from our books, nothing from our accounting, nothing from VEMR's. 6, our computer activity in the NEMRIC financial programs is recorded in the system and backed up daily. If there was ever inappropriate or illegal activity, it would have been seen in NEMRIC reports. Everything is calculated by NEMRIC regarding pay. There is no opportunity to forge anything or to misappropriate funds. 7, the first forensic audit had a finding that I participated in VEMR's inappropriately, claiming numerous things and backed up with emails from former town officials. There was no evidence from our actual accounting to back this up. The first claim was that elected officials don't qualify for VEMR's. This was easily disproven with a conversation with VEMR's. Most towns allow for elected officials to participate in VEMR's, and it is allowed by statute and is the default practice unless a town's personnel policy expressly forbids elected officials to participate. Then it was claimed that my W-2s didn't match the NEMRIC calculations for VEMR's. When the correct calculations are done to check accuracy, you can clearly see that my contributions have been accurate and correct. I am glad that this was proven and shown today by people who understand how to audit these numbers. However, I go back to the fact that the town paid tens of thousands of dollars for a forensic audit that produced this inaccurate and false finding, a false finding that could do permanent damage to my reputation and ability to find other work if I were to seek it. 8, I am angry beyond words for what has happened. I feel this was a personal attack on me. Regarding the people who started all of this, I don't know their reasoning for targeting me, but they did. It was cruel, unfair, and fueled by ignorance over how our municipal accounting works. I have since learned that before this was brought to the board and then to a forensic auditor, that these accusations were brought to the Vermont State Police by a select board member and an internal auditor without even talking to me or asking for clarification. It is shameful that people used their town positions for reckless, hateful, and humiliating actions against me and others. I have served the town of Pownal for 32 years in a variety of positions. I have never claimed to be perfect, and I have never said I didn't make errors sometimes. I am human. When I make an error, I correct it, document it, and make it right. This has caused me to constantly second guess myself, and I am always on edge, afraid of more false allegations coming my direction. 9, I don't know what the remedy is for this at this point. The money is already spent, and the false allegations against me are not only out there in the public, but they were erroneously confirmed by someone who was hired to audit and find the truth. That caused the town to have to spend even more money to get answers and to finalize the situation. I hate that the taxpayers' money had to be spent this way. Many times I came to the board and those working on this matter and expressed that I didn't want this money spent on my account, but it was the right thing to do in the end, as what I have claimed all along was confirmed by a second in-depth audit of just this allegation. I hope this is 10, her last point. I I hope this puts an end to this matter and we can move on from it. I hope the town has learned a few things from this really painful and drawn out situation. We need professionals in this office, people who understand municipal accounting and aren't on a witch hunt. So many have said that we just need more eyes on the books, but this is clearly not true. More eyes when they are untrained, have a personal agenda, and are unwilling to speak with people before making accusations against them is a disaster for our town. What we need is more of what we have created over the past year, better systems and professional support from neutral third parties who understand municipal accounting and have no personal agendas. I am asking this select board and all future select boards to refer to this situation as a hard lesson learned ongoing, so we won't have a repeat of an expensive and dangerous situation like this. And that is from Ellen, our treasurer. That is her statement. And she does plan to come to your next regular meeting so that you can have any further conversation with her in public. And she may want to,
Okay.
Okay.
And just before Mike, you read our statement, I just want everybody to be aware because she spoke a few times about the cost. Graham's forensic audit cost the town $63,000, $694.55. And we asked Mr. Fisher to go to Bondio and we agreed to pay up to $10,000. So far, we've only paid them $3,962.50. I think the previous board could have done such a thing as easy as talking to Ellen and as having the Beamers just audited. So between your time, Mr. Fisher's fees, I think that we've probably spent over $100,000 in 2 years on something that shouldn't have happened, and that it cost the town over $100,000. And that money could have gone towards the new town hall office or towards the taxpayers. I want everybody to know how much this costs the town. It's very, very upsetting. On that note, Mike, would you please move forward with our statement?
This is a statement from the current select board. And then I'm gonna ad lib personally at the end. I got some stuff I want to say. Although we have spoken about the delay of the forensic audit numerous times, we want to make those reasons clear tonight. Now that we have a supplemental report that contains quantifiable evidence for its findings. Originally, starting almost 2 years ago, there were numerous delays in receiving a final report through no fault of the town. Deadlines for returning this report were continuously missed by the auditing firm. When we reached out to check on the delivery of the report, we were charged more money for the time to respond to our inquiries. The first report was delivered to us, and this board and legal counsel felt it lacked detail and no supporting evidence for findings except copies of emails between the forensic auditing firm and former officials containing allegations, but no proof of auditing or investigation. When we asked for clarification on the report and documentation to support the findings, we were again charged more money for these clarifications and communications. The auditing firm responded to our questions and then told the town to just consider these answers, quote, to just consider these answers to your questions as the final report, unquote. However, that document also contained what we strongly believed to be a false finding regarding our treasurer's participation in VEMR's, which is our retirement benefits program. Not only did this document call into question the calculation of and appropriateness of our treasurer's participation in the state retirement program, it also questioned her motivation for allowing other officials to participate. The subjective statement was, quote, she allowed others to collect, in our opinion, inappropriately to reduce the likelihood of objections, unquote. Even though the report stated clearly, quote, no fraud, unquote, this kind of subjective language regarding intent, especially if wrong, could do irreparable and permanent damage to not only our treasurer, but also other officials participating in the VEMR's retirement program. We felt positive that the finding regarding our treasurer's participation in VEMR's was inaccurate based on conversations with VEMR's and our legal counsel. Beamers has stated to us time and again that as far as they are concerned, there is absolutely no issue with our treasurers or any Pownal employee or official's participation in and calculation of retirement benefits. The incorrect statements and subjective language present in the report regarding our treasurer needed to be addressed and looked at by a third party. Otherwise, release of these allegations would place the town in huge liability for publishing false and damaging allegations against a person innocent of these allegations. We could get no clear support or evidence for these alleged findings from the forensic auditing firm, so we turned to a neutral third party to perform a limited investigation of just this one issue. Before we address Ellen directly, we want to let the public know that the board found no objection to any of the other findings in the original forensic audit. These findings all related to lacks of capacity, system weaknesses common to small Vermont towns. We provided those findings to Cynthia of Nemrick when we first engaged her, and we have addressed and remedied every single one of them in our work with her. As you can see from this detailed supplemental report, our belief about the inaccuracy of this finding and subjective language about Ellen's intent was true. This select board, even though some of its members were not present for the time of the forensic audit, would like to issue an apology to Ellen. It is our belief that this situation was handled poorly from the very beginning. Throughout this long process of trying to finalize this matter, we learned many things previously unknown, such as the state police being contacted before these questions were even brought to Ellen personally or the board. And also the changes to a personnel policy with the apparent intent to place Ellen out of compliance with Beamers and not only deprive her of benefits, but to falsely accuse her of, quote, misappropriation of funds, unquote. We presented on that issue with the policy last year. No one deserves to be treated with this much disrespect and unfairness, and we want to be sure that we are clear here. On behalf of the town of Pownal, we offer you, Ellen, a sincere apology for what you have endured because of this situation. As a board, we need to actively plan how to avoid anything like this from ever happening again.
Very well said.
Very well.
So I'm going to reflect a little bit. This is going to be kind of an ad lib thing. I think this is a tremendously strong, first, I think this is a tremendously strong form of proof why internal auditors aren't the way to go for a town, because unfortunately, I think it's very difficult to get an internal auditor who is trained in this kind of accounting, no matter their background in accounting. And I don't want to get into a whole bunch of that, but I think that's a huge thing as to why you don't have an internal auditor, why you have an outside auditing firm doing your books and taking care of that kind of stuff. Now I'm going to reflect on my opinion and why I voted the way I did for the initial forensic audit. This is strictly off the cuff, and we'll see what happens. When we got the initial forensic audit, there was, in my opinion, there was not a single piece of quantifiable evidence in that forensic audit that stated anything or backed up any of the allegations or accusations that were made.
You're right, none.
I, for one, could not lay my head on my pillow and go to bed at night and present that first forensic audit to the taxpayers of this town of Pownal and be comfortable. There is no way that I, elected to this board by the residents of this town, would accept that report. There just was nothing to back it up. There was emails, there was conversations where there was not a single number anywhere. I don't remember seeing a single number any place on the first forensic audit that backed up anything. If there was a number there and it backed it up, then maybe I could have laid my head on my pillow at night. But there's no way. I'm gonna say this. I don't have to like a person at all. But if something is wrong with an accusation or whatever, I'm going to bat for that person. And not that I don't like Helen, because I do, but I couldn't do it. And I think this board feels exactly the same way. There's no way that we could release that first report to the taxpayers of this town after what we spent on that as taxpayers, because it came out of all of our pockets. Okay, we spent that money. And for any person out there who thinks that we should have released that first report the way it was written and presented to the town after spending $65,000 or $64,000 on it, no way. And when you see that report, if you still think that, I'm sorry. I really and truly am. But when you see that first report, you will understand why we did what we did, why it's been dragged out for this long. And I'm going to be honest, I think you're absolutely going to appreciate what we did as a board. And that's it. I'm done.
Jamie?
No, I agree, Mike. Unfortunately, we thought our auditors were actually bringing us factual information based, and because I was part of that board, I'm still here also, that went into that deal with Graham and Graham, and come to find out there was not any relevance. I mean, there's procedural things, yes, and like stated in the select board's statement, we have taken all that seriously, and we've moved on and corrected that. But that initial report that was given to us had no statutes or findings to take and give us fact-based information for the allegations, and that was just totally wrong. And I'm really sorry that Ellen got dragged through the mud on this.
Okay, Jamie, thank you. Bob?
Yeah, thanks, thanks, Angie. So, one is I just want to remind everybody that a forensic audit, when you go into a forensic audit, it's not a regular audit. We do forensic audits because we believe there's been some wrongdoing, or that there has been allegations of wrongdoing. I don't think I think we all know that that's not true at this point. I was present for the initiation of the forensic audit, and hence I think it's important that I speak about it. And I think we all agree that we can't accuse people of things without proof, and that is unfortunately what has happened here. I don't know what the motivation was behind the apparent targeting of our treasurer, but soon after we engaged a forensic auditor, it became clear to me that we were dealing with some strong personal animosities. I am pleased that now we have a conclusion of this matter, and we can show without a doubt that the allegations made against our treasurer are false. I personally want to apologize to Ellen for my participation in this. I regret my vote to proceed with a forensic audit, and I hate that I had any part in something that ended up costing our taxpayers. And I deeply regret that you, Ellen, had to bear the brunt of these false accusations. Ellen, you have my sincerest apologies.
Thank you, Bob. I just want to say that I agree with everybody here. By working out with the public and in retail, there's nothing worse than being accused of something when you know in your heart that you have not done it. And that is why you always have to have proof. You cannot have hearsay. This could have cost the town so much more money. If Ellen wanted to, she could sue the town for defamation of character. I am so sorry, Ellen, and I hope we can all move forward in a positive way. Thank you. Okay. With that, is anything else need to be said from the board before we open up to public comment?
It's, Mike brought up the auditing think we should take and put that back out for town vote. As far as,
Can't do that.
We can't do that tonight though, but we have to wait.
This is a special meeting.
This is a special meeting, so we can do it at our next board meeting, which is the 13th, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And just so everyone knows that all of these reports, the initial report from Graham, the answers to our questions that became the final report from Graham, and the supplemental forensic report will all be posted on the website tonight after this meeting. And that Ellen will be at the next regular board meeting to be able to speak further with you about it. So she has that opportunity to be here at a meeting. I think tonight it was just too much.
Right.
For her. Okay.
And I think if residents out there have questions, I think they should submit them.
Send them in.
Send
We
them
said that.
in. Just I want to reiterate that.
Yep.
Just send them in and not to bombard Ellen next week. Okay.
Yes.
send them to the select board.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Or to me, and I
Or
can
to
facilitate
Rebecca.
that. Yes.
All right. Anything else? Okay, let's open up to public comment. Megan, please open up to public comment. Please remember to raise your hand, state your full name, and it's a comment, public comment, and we're going to give you 5 minutes. Thank you.
Jim? Jim?
Hello, Jim. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute. First of all, I just want to say, Jim Kosis, North Mason Hill Road. First of all, I just want to thank you all very much for tonight's presentation. I think it was very informative. I am personally happy that any information that was done in the past 2.5 years has really come to a conclusion. And I wish the town is able to just move forward now. And I'm sure we unfortunately are going to lose Tim here, but I know personally from what I've seen, I think a lot of changes have been made in the past year that Tim has been there. And I just wish the town great in all of our financial aspirations going forward. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Thank you. Anybody else, please raise your hand. Megan?
There's no one else raising their hands.
Okay, then do we need to go into executive session? I need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll move to go into executive session for personnel
Matter.
matter.
And there will be
There
action.
will be action.
All right, can I have a second?
Second,
Jamie?
aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Angie, aye.
She lets us know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Megan? I gotta go to the ladies'
One
room.
more second.
I should just turn Facebook off and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that shut all the links off, shut the recording off.
I think I think we lost the select board.
I'd like to move to return Rebecca temporarily to full-time status in the interim during this transition period effective immediately.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Jamie?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Angie, aye. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, anything else to come before us?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second it.
Jamie?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Angie, aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Don't forget us over here, Tim.